Tonight, when you close your eyes, you'll travel somewhere, and by morning, you won't remember a thing. But what if I told you that this place isn't random, that every human who has ever lived goes there, and most spiritual traditions throughout history have tried to tell us what's really happening? You're about to discover where your consciousness actually goes when your body shuts down. And once you see it, sleep will never feel the same again. Right now, in a few hours, when you drift off, your body will enter a state of complete paralysis. Your eyes will move rapidly beneath closed lids. Your brain will light up with electrical storms of activity. But here's what nobody tells you. While all of that is happening in the physical, something else is taking place on a level science can barely touch. You're crossing a threshold into another realm entirely. When you first lay down, muscles releasing, breathing slowing, you enter what sleep researchers call the first stage of NREM. This is the borderland, the threshold between waking and sleeping. You felt this countless times, that sensation of drifting off, then suddenly jerking back awake. This stage lasts only minutes, but it's the doorway opening. About 15 minutes in, you descend deeper into stage 2. Your temperature drops, your heartbeat steadies, and if scientists were measuring your brain activity right now, they'd see something curious. Your brain waves slow into rhythmic patterns, but then suddenly there are these sharp bursts, sleep spindles, K-complexes. You'll spend roughly half your entire night in this stage. Not deep sleep, not dream sleep, but this in-between state, as if you're acclimating to something. Then comes stage 3, deep restorative sleep. Your brain waves stretch out into long, slow delta rhythms. If someone tried to wake you now, it would take serious effort. You're far away because your body has essentially closed the door to the outside world so it can do internal work. Growth hormones flood your system. Damaged tissue repairs itself. Your brain literally flushes out toxins through the glymphatic system. It's like street cleaning that only happens when the roads are empty. But here's the thing, millions of people never actually reach this stage anymore. Poor sleep hygiene, screens before bed, stress, anxiety. They are missing the preparation their consciousness needs for the deeper journey ahead. Then, approximately 90 minutes after you first closed your eyes, you arrive. REM sleep. Rapid eye movement. Your brain becomes almost as active as it is when you're fully awake. Multiple regions lighting up simultaneously. Your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes irregular, but your muscles are completely locked. You cannot move. This isn't a malfunction, this is protection, because in this state, you're experiencing something so vivid, so real that if your body could move, you'd be acting it all out physically. Running, fighting, flying. The brain paralyzes you on purpose. You'll cycle through these stages multiple times. Each complete cycle takes about 90 minutes. And here's what changes as the night progresses. Deep sleep decreases with each cycle, but REM gets longer and longer. Second cycle, 20 minutes. Third cycle, 30 minutes. By your fifth cycle around dawn, you might spend an entire hour in REM sleep. That's why weekend mornings, when you sleep in, you wake up remembering incredibly vivid, bizarre, emotionally intense dreams. You spent more time there, in that other place. If you could observe your brain through an MRI during REM, you'd see something that looks almost impossible. The cerebral cortex, the part of you that thinks and reasons, is firing with intense activity. The hippocampus, where memories are stored, is working overtime. The amygdala, that ancient structure that handles emotions and fear, is completely lit up. But here's what's strange. The prefrontal cortex, your logic center, the part that normally says, "This doesn't make sense," goes quiet. Its activity drops dramatically. And that's why in dreams you can fly, talk to people who are dead, be in 3 places at once, and you don't question any of it. Your rational mind has stepped aside. The paralysis is controlled by a specific mechanism in your brain stem. But there are some who have a condition called REM behavior disorder. The paralysis doesn't engage properly, so they physically act out their dreams, punching walls, kicking, shouting. This tells us something crucial. The dreams aren't just happening in your head. Your body believes they're real. Carl Jung looked at REM sleep and saw something deeper than just brain chemistry. He believed that when your logical mind shuts down, you access what he called the collective unconscious, not just your personal memories, but archetypal patterns and symbols that all of humanity shares across cultures and time. That's why people who've never met, who live on opposite sides of the world, dream about the same things. Water symbolizing emotion, flying representing freedom, being chased meaning fear or avoidance. These aren't learned, they're built into the human psyche itself. Robert Moss, a scholar who studied both modern sleep science and ancient shamanic traditions, goes even further. He suggests that REM sleep isn't just symbolic or psychological. It's an actual doorway, a state where your consciousness can move beyond the physical body. Moss spent years researching indigenous cultures from around the world, and he found something remarkable. Shamans from tribes who never had any contact with each other describe sleep the exact same way, as a journey, as leaving the body, as traveling to other realms where you meet entities, receive wisdom, communicate with ancestors. Is that coincidence? Or is it that when the rational brain quiets down, something real opens up? If this is resonating with you, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to stay connected to this frequency of consciousness exploration. Here's an experience almost everyone has had at some point. You dream about someone you haven't thought about in years, maybe a childhood friend, a former colleague. Then the very next day, that person calls you, or you run into them unexpectedly, and you wonder, was that just coincidence? Or during those hours in REM sleep, did your consciousness somehow access information your waking mind couldn't? Neuroscience explains one layer of this, how the brain consolidates memories, processes emotions, reorganizes neural pathways. But mystical traditions explain the experience, the subjective reality of what you're actually going through. And here's what I'm suggesting. Maybe both are true at the same time. Maybe the brain is the hardware, the physical mechanism, and consciousness is the software, the experience itself. Scientists can measure the hardware with their instruments, but the software, what you're actually experiencing, that's different territory entirely. Rudolf Steiner, the Austrian philosopher who founded anthroposophy in the early 1900s, had a very specific understanding of sleep. He said that humans have multiple bodies, the physical body, yes, but also the etheric body, a field of vital energy, the astral body, a vehicle of consciousness, and the higher self, your deepest spiritual essence. During waking hours, all these bodies function together as one integrated unit. But when you fall asleep, a separation occurs. The physical body remains in bed. The etheric body stays as well, maintaining basic life functions like breathing and circulation. But the astral body, that's what detaches. Not completely, because if it did, you would die. But it gains mobility, and according to Steiner, it's in this astral body that you actually travel during dreams. He described it as an actual energetic connection, the silver cord, that keeps you tethered to your physical form. When you die, that cord severs completely. But during sleep, it stretches, allowing your astral body to move while ensuring you can return. Tibetan Buddhism has an entire practice dedicated to this called Milam, or dream yoga. The teaching is that during sleep, you pass through different bardos, intermediate states of consciousness, transitional realms. And the Tibetan masters teach that what you experience in these bardos is just as real and meaningful as anything you experience while awake. That's why advanced practitioners train themselves to maintain full awareness during sleep, not for entertainment, but because they believe the dream state is fundamentally similar to the death state. If you can remain conscious while dreaming, you can remain conscious when you die. The training is the same. Recognizing signs that you're in an altered state, setting clear intentions before crossing the threshold, maintaining awareness as you transition between worlds. Ancient Egyptians understood this intuitively. They had temples specifically designed for dream incubation. People would travel to these sacred sites to sleep, to receive prophetic dreams or healing. They had trained priests whose entire role was interpreting dreams. To them, dreaming was direct communication with the divine. Jung discovered this same pattern when working with his patients. One woman who had no background in mythology or alchemy dreamed of a serpent eating its own tail, the Ouroboros, a symbol that appears independently in dozens of ancient cultures across continents and centuries. How did she access that if she'd never studied it? Jung's answer was the collective unconscious, a shared layer of human psyche deeper than personal memory. Helena Blavatsky, the Russian mystic who founded the Theosophical Society, spent decades studying Eastern sacred texts, European esoteric traditions, and ancient philosophy. According to Blavatsky, existence consists of 7 primary planes. The physical plane is just the densest, the slowest vibrational frequency. Above it, the etheric plane, then the astral, then the mental, and so on. The astral plane is where human consciousness goes during sleep, and they didn't describe it as some vague mystical concept. They mapped it out in extraordinary detail, structure, inhabitants, regions, laws. The lower astral is dense, close to the physical. This is where chaotic, confusing dreams occur. Dreams heavily influenced by personal desires, fears, unconscious material. But as you rise through the layers of the astral, things change. The experience becomes clearer, more lucid, less dominated by ego, more connected to universal truth. Most people during sleep remain in the lower astral regions, dazed and unaware. That's why so many dreams feel disjointed and meaningless. But people who train through meditation, conscious intention, spiritual practice, they can navigate to the higher regions. And there the experiences are completely different. Vivid, coherent, profoundly meaningful. Look at the pattern here: Theosophy, Tibetan Buddhism, shamanic traditions, ancient Egyptian religion, 5 completely different systems separated by geography, culture, and centuries. And they all say essentially the same thing. There is a non-physical plane of existence that you visit during sleep. This plane has structure, it has inhabitants, it has its own natural laws, and you can learn to navigate it consciously if you develop the skill. Science can't prove this, but science also can't disprove it, and there are phenomena that make strict materialists very uncomfortable. Cases of people in deep comas who later wake up and accurately describe conversations that happened in the room while they were unconscious. Conversations they should have had no way of knowing about, because their brain activity was minimal or flatlined. But they say, "I left my body, I floated near the ceiling, I saw and heard everything." If consciousness is purely a product of brain activity, then when the brain shuts down, there should be no experience at all. But there is. Stephen LaBerge, a neuroscientist at Stanford, spent decades proving scientifically that lucid dreaming is real and measurable. He trained people to become aware during REM sleep and set up signals with them beforehand. When you realize you're dreaming, move your eyes left to right 3 times in sequence. And it worked. The person asleep in deep REM with their body completely paralyzed moved their eyes in the exact agreed pattern. It showed up clearly on the recording, the first solid scientific proof that you can be fully conscious and fully asleep at the same time. LaBerge called this phenomenon lucid dreaming, and he proved anyone can learn to do it. It's not a rare gift. It's a trainable skill. Let me show you how to actually do this. The practical steps from beginner to advanced. Step 1. The Dream Journal. The foundation of everything is the dream journal. Before you can become conscious in dreams, you need to remember them. Keep a physical notebook and pen next to your bed. The moment you wake up, before you move, before you check anything, write, even if it's just fragments. After 1 to 2 weeks of consistent journaling, you start remembering more dreams with greater detail and clarity. You're sending a signal to your brain. This matters. I want to remember. Step 2. Reality testing. This is where most people feel silly, but it works incredibly well. The technique is building a habit of questioning whether you're awake or dreaming multiple times throughout the day. Choose specific triggers. Every time you walk through a doorway, pause and ask, "Am I dreaming right now?" Every time you look at your phone, ask the question. And don't just ask on autopilot. Really investigate. Try pushing the index finger of one hand through the palm of the other. While awake, it won't go through, but in a dream, it will. You're training your awareness to have this reflex. So when you're in a dream and perform the reality check, and your finger passes through your hand like water, you'll realize instantly that you're dreaming. Step 3. Set your intention before you turn off the light. Make a clear statement. Tonight, I will recognize that I'm dreaming. Repeat this phrase mentally as you're falling asleep. You're programming your subconscious, and your subconscious listens. The key is to set the intention without grasping at results. Don't force it. State it clearly, then let it go. Step 4. Wake back to bed. This is more advanced but dramatically increases your chances. Set an alarm for 5 hours after you fall asleep. When it goes off, get up and stay awake for 20 to 30 minutes. Read about lucid dreaming, write in your journal. Then return to bed with strong intention. Now I will become conscious in my next dream. Why does this work? Because after 5 hours, you've completed most of your deep sleep cycles. The remaining cycles will be REM heavy. And since you just woke your mind up, your awareness is more active. It's easier to carry that awareness across the threshold into the dream state. How long until it works? The answer varies. Some people achieve their first lucid dream within days. Others take months. It depends on your consistency, your natural dream recall ability, and how much you practice. But when it finally does happen, and it will if you persist, you'll understand why spiritual traditions across millennia have considered this important. Once you achieve lucidity, the possibilities expand dramatically. You might explore accessing memories from past lives if that's part of your belief system. You might ask to meet spiritual guides. You might consciously navigate the astral plane instead of wandering through it in a daze like most people do. But there's something the traditions warn about. Don't try to dominate the experience. There's a crucial difference between receptive lucidity and egoic lucidity. Egoic lucidity is when you become conscious and immediately try to control everything. You treat the dream like a video game where you're God. There's nothing inherently wrong with that at first. It's fun, it's liberating. But if you get stuck in that mode, you miss the deeper purpose. Receptive lucidity is different. You're conscious, yes, but you're also open. You ask questions more than you issue commands. You explore more than you manipulate. And when you approach it this way, surprising things happen. Dream characters you assumed were just projections start acting autonomously. They tell you things you didn't consciously know. They show you places you never imagined. And you start wondering, are these just aspects of my subconscious or are they something more? Now, let's talk about what happens when you can't sleep at all. Most people aren't getting the 7 to 8 hours their body requires, and the body always collects what's owed. One night of poor sleep, you're irritable, distracted. 2-3 nights in a row, memory starts failing. A week of inadequate sleep, your immune system begins collapsing. You get sick more easily. Inflammation rises throughout your body. But the worst damage isn't even physical, it's mental. Chronic sleep deprivation doesn't just make you tired, it causes depression, anxiety, in severe cases, even psychotic symptoms. Post-traumatic stress disorder makes this even worse. The person relives traumatic experiences in nightmares, wakes in terror, begins avoiding sleep entirely, and without adequate REM sleep, the brain never gets the chance to process and integrate the traumatic memory properly. It remains stuck in an active loop. That's why every spiritual tradition throughout history has respected sleep so deeply. Your body can go days without food, but without sleep, within a week you're experiencing hallucinations. Within 2 weeks you could die. That place your soul visits each night isn't optional. It's not a luxury, it's necessary. You have to go there, do what needs to be done, receive what needs to be received, and return renewed each morning. So now you know where you go every night. 5 90-minute cycles, body paralyzed, brain illuminated with electrical activity, soul traveling somewhere beyond. Science explains the mechanism, the physical how. Spiritual traditions explain the experience, the subjective what. And maybe both are describing the same reality from different angles. But here's what actually matters. You who will lie down in a few hours. You who will close your eyes and begin this journey again, as you've done every night since birth. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Will you keep doing it unconsciously, remembering nothing, learning nothing? Or will you bring awareness to it? Will you try something different? And there's something else I haven't told you yet. Something you'll notice once you start consciously exploring the dream realm. Not everyone has the same experience there. Some people encounter beautiful landscapes every night, helpful guides appearing consistently. Everything flows with ease and grace. But others, they meet resistance, shadow figures, heavy challenges, tests, that feel almost impossibly difficult. And doesn't that mirror something about waking life, too? Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have easier lives than others? Why certain souls carry heavier burdens? Why you specifically face the challenges you face? Is it random, bad luck, cosmic injustice, or is there a reason? A reason your soul understands, but you forgot the moment you were born. Agreements made before you descended into physical form, karmic debts from previous lifetimes, choices you made in the space between lives. What if nothing about your life's difficulty is actually random? What if it's all part of a design you helped create? But that's a conversation for another time. For now, before you close this and go about your day, I want to ask you something. Take a moment right now and comment below with this exact phrase: I choose to remember. Not as a casual interaction, but as a declaration, as a signal to the field of consciousness itself that you're no longer willing to sleepwalk through life or through your dreams, that you're choosing awareness. Go ahead and do that now. And if what you've heard here today is resonating with something deep inside you, if it's touching a part of you that's been waiting for this information, then I invite you to subscribe. Not just to this channel, but to this frequency, to this movement of people who are waking up, not just from sleep, but from the trance of unconscious existence. Because here's what's true. The more of us who learn to navigate these realms consciously, the more humanity as a whole begins to shift. Every person who wakes up in their dreams is a person who's practicing waking up in life. Every person who learns to recognize illusion in sleep is a person who's learning to see through illusion while awake. This isn't just about having interesting nighttime experiences. This is about fundamental transformation of consciousness. And the more of us engaged in this work, the more the collective field shifts to reflect that elevated awareness. So as you prepare to sleep tonight, I want you to set an intention. Not desperate, not grasping, just clear. Tonight, I travel consciously. Tonight, I remember, and then let it go. Trust the process. Trust your own consciousness. Trust that the place you go each night is exactly where you need to be, and that you're learning to navigate it with greater and greater skill. Before you go, drop one word in the comments. One word that captures the energy or intention you're choosing to bring to your sleep practice from this moment forward. It could be awareness, lucidity, courage, openness, remembering. Whatever word resonates with you, drop it as your energetic signature, your declaration to the quantum field that you're ready for this shift. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Not just to stay connected, but to stay coherent, to stay aligned with this frequency of awakening consciousness, because the more of us who embody this understanding, the more the world around us begins to reflect that truth back to us. Tonight, when you close your eyes, you're not just going to sleep. You're embarking on a journey, and now you know where that journey leads. Sleep well. Pay close attention to what you find there, and remember, always remember,